The second rule of a meaningful life establishes a principle that contradicts much of contemporary culture. The path to excellence, to capability, to genuine power lies not in discovering advanced secrets or sophisticated strategies but in mastering the fundamental disciplines that most people neglect. The person who sleeps well, who nourishes their body properly, who moves regularly, who develops genuine focus, and who manages their emotions effectively outperforms the person seeking shortcuts, hacks, and advanced techniques, regardless of how clever those advanced techniques might be. This rule recognizes a fundamental mismatch between where people focus their effort and where actual results come from. Most people search endlessly for the advanced secret, the perfect productivity system, the optimal trading strategy, the breakthrough diet, the life hack that will finally unlock success. Meanwhile, the person who has mastered sleep, nutrition, movement, focus, and emotional regulation accomplishes far more than the person who has discovered every hack but neglects these fundamentals. The principle operates through understanding that everything is built on foundation. The structure built on a poor foundation fails regardless of how sophisticated the structure is. The body deprived of sleep cannot think clearly regardless of intelligence. The body malnourished cannot perform at capability regardless of potential. The person without regular movement accumulates physical and psychological costs that undermine everything else. A person without genuine focus cannot accomplish anything regardless of how much time they spend. The person overwhelmed by emotional dysregulation cannot make good decisions regardless of knowledge. Yet these fundamentals are boring. They're not exciting or sophisticated. They don't make for interesting stories or viral content. Everyone knows sleep matters. Everyone knows nutrition matters. Everyone knows movement matters. The boring repetition of these truths makes them seem too simple to actually matter. But this is exactly why they're so powerful, because most people dismiss them as too simple while searching for something more complex. The rule also recognizes that mastering fundamentals requires consistent discipline over time. There's no hack for sleep, you must sleep 7 to 9 hours most nights, consistently. There's no hack for nutrition, you must eat real food, mostly vegetables and protein, consistently. There's no hack for movement, you must move your body regularly, consistently. There's no hack for focus, you must actually develop the capacity to focus on one thing without distraction, consistently. There's no hack for emotional regulation, you must practice managing your emotional responses, consistently. This consistency is unglamorous. It doesn't produce the dopamine hit that discovering a new strategy produces. It doesn't provide the sense of progress that learning something new provides. It's just the slow, boring accumulation of small habits that compound over time into extraordinary capability. Successfully implementing this rule requires understanding what constitutes the fundamentals and why each matters. The first fundamental is sleep. Sleep is not lost time. Sleep is when your brain consolidates learning, when your body repairs itself, when your immune system strengthens, when your emotional resilience rebuilds. The person who sleeps 7 to 9 hours most nights has a cognitive and emotional advantage over the person who sleeps 5 or 6 hours that no stimulant or productivity system can overcome. Yet sleep is the first thing people sacrifice when they get busy. The busy person cutting sleep to gain more waking hours actually loses far more than they gain because the waking hours they do have are less effective, less focused, less capable. The person prioritizing sleep, treating it as non-negotiable, operates from a position of strength that the sleep-deprived person cannot match. The second fundamental is nutrition. Your body is built from what you eat. Your brain requires specific nutrients to function optimally. Your energy levels depend on what you consume. The person eating real food, vegetables, protein, fruits, whole grains, functions differently than the person eating processed food loaded with sugar and seed oils. The difference isn't just physical. It's cognitive and emotional. Yet nutrition advice is complicated and often contradictory. Different people thrive on different diets. But the fundamentals are simple: eat real food, mostly plants and protein, in roughly appropriate quantities. This requires less than 5% of the sophistication most people expect nutrition to require. The third fundamental is movement. Your body is designed to move. Regular movement improves cardiovascular health, strengthens muscles and bones, improves cognitive function, enhances mood, and increases longevity. The person who moves regularly, through exercise, through walking, through any consistent physical activity, has an advantage that the sedentary person cannot overcome. Yet most people treat movement as something to do if convenient rather than as fundamental. The person who treats movement as non-negotiable, who prioritizes it despite busyness, operates from a position of strength that the sedentary person cannot match. The fourth fundamental is focus. In an age of constant distraction, the capacity to focus on one thing without distraction becomes rare and therefore valuable. The person who can genuinely focus, who can ignore notifications, who can spend hours on a single problem, who can engage deeply with a book or a project, accomplishes far more than the person who can only think in fragments. Developing focus requires removing distractions, which requires discipline. It requires choosing to do one thing rather than dividing attention across many things. It requires being uncomfortable with boredom because focus requires sustained attention even when novelty wears off. The fifth fundamental is emotional regulation. Your emotions strongly affect your choices, your relationships, your health, your capability. The person who can recognize their emotional state, who can understand what's driving it, who can choose their response rather than being controlled by their emotions, operates far more effectively than the person overwhelmed by emotional reactivity. Emotional regulation doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means understanding them, allowing them, and choosing your response. It requires developing awareness of your emotional patterns and practicing different responses until they become natural. Throughout history, figures who achieved genuine excellence often attributed it to mastery of fundamentals rather than to discovering advanced secrets. One striking example comes from athletes who dominate their sports. The Olympic athlete typically doesn't attribute success to some secret technique. They attribute it to years of mastering fundamental movements, to consistency in training, to proper recovery, to proper nutrition. The fundamentals, practiced relentlessly, created excellence. Similarly, in intellectual fields, writers, scientists, and thinkers who produced significant work often attributed it to fundamental disciplines. The writer producing quality work typically has consistent writing practice, proper sleep, proper nutrition, and the emotional regulation to persist through difficult work. The scientist making breakthroughs typically maintains rigorous focus on their work, proper health habits, and emotional resilience to persist through failures. Conversely, figures who failed to achieve their potential often did so partly because they neglected fundamentals while seeking advanced strategies. The athlete was injured by overtraining without proper recovery. The executive made poor decisions because they were sleep deprived. The person is unable to focus because of poor nutrition. In personal development, people who transformed their lives often did so not by discovering a new strategy but by finally committing to fundamental disciplines they already knew mattered. In contemporary professional environments, people who maintain excellent sleep, nutrition, movement, focus, and emotional regulation outperform their peers despite potentially less total work hours. The well-rested person accomplishes more in 4 focused hours than the sleep-deprived person accomplishes in 8 distracted hours. In creative fields, artists and creators who maintain fundamental disciplines produce better work. The writer who gets proper sleep writes better than the writer running on caffeine and desperation. The designer who maintains focus produces better designs than the designer constantly switching between projects. In sports and physical pursuits, people who maintain all fundamental disciplines progress faster than people seeking advanced techniques while neglecting fundamentals. The person sleeping well, eating well, moving consistently, and emotionally regulated achieves better results. In relationships, people who maintain fundamental self-care, sleep, nutrition, movement, emotional regulation, maintain better relationships. They're less irritable, more present, more capable of genuine connection. In financial pursuits, people who maintain clarity through proper sleep, focus, and emotional regulation make better financial decisions than those making decisions while tired, distracted, or emotionally dysregulated. In learning and development, people who maintain fundamental disciplines learn faster and retain more. The well-rested person learns better than the sleep-deprived person. The person in good physical health learns better than the person in poor health. The primary challenge in implementing this rule is maintaining consistency when results don't appear immediately dramatic. You sleep well tonight and feel better tomorrow. But the benefit of consistent sleep for months is far greater than the benefit of a single good night's sleep. The same is true for nutrition, movement, and emotional regulation. This delayed gratification runs counter to how modern life trains us to think. We expect immediate results. We want to see progress quickly. But fundamental disciplines compound over time in ways that are invisible in the short term but become undeniable over months and years. The challenge also involves resisting the temptation to skip fundamentals when you're busy. When you're working on something you care about, When you have important deadlines, when you're trying to accomplish something significant, the first thing people cut is sleep, or exercise, or proper nutrition. But these are exactly the times when maintaining fundamentals becomes most important, because it's when you need the cognitive and emotional capability those fundamentals provide. Rule 2 establishes that excellence comes not from advanced strategies or clever hacks but from mastering the fundamental disciplines that most people neglect. The person who sleeps well, eats well, moves regularly, maintains genuine focus, and manages emotions effectively outperforms the person seeking advanced secrets. Master this rule by treating sleep as non-negotiable, by eating real food consistently, by moving your body regularly, by developing genuine capacity to focus, and by practicing emotional regulation. Recognize that these fundamentals are boring and unsexy and therefore overlooked by most people. Recognize that this makes them valuable. Your consistency in fundamentals provides an advantage that sophisticated strategies cannot match. The second rule of life, then, is really a rule about the power of unglamorous consistency. Those who master it understand that excellence is built on foundation, not on sophistication. Master the fundamentals, practice them consistently, and you'll discover that ordinary discipline applied consistently outperforms extraordinary effort applied inconsistently. The path to excellence is boring because it's built on sleep, nutrition, movement, focus, and emotional regulation, the fundamentals everyone knows matter but most people neglect.